Hey guys, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty. I'm hoping you're all having a wonderful day, and today I'm going to be reviewing the top and bottom comics from September 13th, 2022. Alright guys, you know the drill, you know how I've done this if you've watched this video, if these videos in the past. If you haven't, that's okay too. What I do is I read a batch of comic books of the week and I give you my opinion, that's it, my opinion, of the top as well as the bottom, and then a little bit of information about each one as the ones that also fell between. Here's my papers, you can hear those, the noises coming from there. These are my views, not yours, and that's okay. So if you have different views, like a comic book you think I should have read, or you had different thoughts on a comic book, by all means, feel free to share. Just try to be civil. Now, you can't see it, but I got my cup of coffee here. I'm going to take a sip. Coffee makes the morning good. So anyway, let's see here. How many did I read? I don't even know how many I read. I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 comic books. Now, I don't look for necessarily bad ones to get the clickbait titles, and I don't necessarily try to do anything that's super popular or trendy. It is, once again, I just go to and pick out the comic books for the poll that are based on something that I look like have potential or would like to read, or if I fell down a rabbit hole on a miniseries, I usually sometimes try to finish it. So let's go first today. Let's start with the top. Yeah, let's start with the top. My number 3. Are you ready for this one? This one might shock some people. It shocked me. I didn't believe it was going to make it, because this series, I'm a fan of the character, but I have not been a fan of this character for how they've written her for years. And I will say, the last few years, they've been doing a better job than they have previously. And that is, well, except when she was originally in her first few years in Incarnations. But that's Captain Marvel number 41. Yeah, Captain Marvel number 41. I gave it a 7.04 out of 10. So let's explore why it received that score. First of all, the art was okay. I thought it was pretty good, except for when they were dealing with the witches and things like that with Wanda. That was, she was drawn rough. I mean, really, really rough. I mean, it was like, what the heck were they thinking there? So they did drop the ball. This book could have got a higher score, a little bit higher, if the art didn't really dip in those areas. And it's nice to see that Carol's back, because, let's see how long. They have her bouncing all over the place. I just think that they struggle to understand Carol's place. Where's she going to be in the superhero area? Is she going to be in the big powerful fights all the time, street level, all over the place? I think they're aiming more towards mystical, all that. They're all over the place. I think they're trying to make her as powerful as can be, but they're failing to find that area to put her in, because heroes tend to have their place, either be street level, espionage, big galactic battles. They're really struggling with this character. But overall, really, it was a pretty decent comic. The art was pretty good. They're drawing her pretty good. They're writing her better than they have in the past. So once again, a 7.04. This has been pretty decent, and surprising too that Captain Marvel's up to issue 41. Think about it, as many reboots as she's had. This is a pretty good milestone. I can only imagine what'll happen at issue 50. All right, so now my number 2. My number 2, I don't think is going to be a big surprise. This series has been pretty good from the start, though it's still pretty new in its inception and has a lot of potential for failure. It's Daredevil number 3, where I gave Daredevil number 3 a 7.8 out of 10. I liked seeing Cage as Mayor, and I liked seeing him in other comic books now and how he's impacting the area, because I'm a big Luke Cage fan. I've always been, so if you're new to this channel, I'm a huge Luke Cage fan, okay? Him and Power Man, I loved him from day one. Him as Power Man, and then as dropping the name as Luke Cage, and then him with Iron Fist in particular. I love it when those two team up, though I do wish they would get them a good series. And I want to see Danny Rand as Iron Fist, doggone it, but I'm sidestepping here. But I did like seeing Cage as Mayor and having that discussion with Daredevil, and Daredevil's concerned about him, but you really see the confidence in Luke Cage And I really like that because that's the kind of character he is. And I think he was written well there. I do also like the depth of the Daredevil character in this series. I think they're doing a good job of the depth of the character. And, you know, what makes him different in the Marvel Universe? He's not just a Batman running around beating up people, you know, a generic copy of Batman or any other hero. He's Daredevil, and he has a faith-based principles character, and they're using that in the story. And that's one thing that sets him apart. You don't see a lot of that in comic books today. Matter of fact, they steer clear of that, or they use faith-based people as bad guys. Yeah, they try to make them all extremists and things. And we're not so far getting that here, so I am enjoying that. Now, granted, this is a slippery slope that could go down that rabbit hole really easily, and it's Marvel, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that. All right, the number one pick that I think that you should get, and this one surprised me a little bit too, because it's been okay, but it's been okay, and it was Savage Avengers number 5. And I gave it an 8 out of 10. Now, let me explain to you why it received that score that it did. First of all, the art style has been gritty in this series, and I think it really fits. And it's going to, I believe, continue to be that way. So it's really nice. So that's one chink of a good check mark there. Bink! You know, you checked off that box. Yeah, I gave it an 8. That's awesome, because there's a couple things that are really special in this issue that bumped it up to an 8. The next part, too, is that... You ready for this one? I don't want to be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled and you plan on reading it, you might want to skip this. But they gave Conan the ending I think he deserved. And because Marvel had a limited amount of time, evidently, with the rights. I believe they lost the rights to use Conan. And so I think this wraps up their uses of Conan. And it was sort of in a good way, because it seems like everything they did with Savage Avengers lately was all based on Conan. And that was maybe pushing it too much, but this really put a nice ending on that. Now, a negative on this book, before I get to the final positive, is once again, Marvel continues to not use the Black Knight very well. They always undervalue in what he can do. And then they do something different with the character here, but I didn't really care for it. Once again, they keep undervaluing Dane Whitman as a character. Dane Whitman was an Avenger, a good Avenger. He's trained under some great people. He's a very talented person, but every time they seem to put him in a fight, he's always overwhelmed. Use Dane Whitman properly. He's a skilled fighter. Let him win something for once on his own and be good. So that's my chink in the armor of this issue, but you're ready for the next one. This next part, I really dug. And at the end, once again, spoilers, we're going to get Punisher 2099. Yeah, he arrives you see Punisher 2099 at the very end. Jake Gallows at the very end of this issue, showing us that we're going to get more Punisher 2099 in the next issue. Now, think about that. We've been getting a lot of resurgence from 2099. We got it with Spider-Man series stuff, and what's one of the characters we have not been seeing? The Punisher in 2099, and now we're going to get him, and I'm looking forward to seeing some Jake Gallows and Punisher 2099 in Savage Avengers in issue number 6. Alright, so once again, those issues that you should probably consider getting: Captain Marvel 41, Daredevil number 3, and Savage Avengers number 5. So now let's go down to the bottom. Let me rattle my papers here. The bottom of the stack. And then we'll talk about the ones in between. But before we get to the bottom of the stack, I want to take a moment here and say thank you to these people. Without these people, this channel would not be possible. They help support the channel through Patreon, Subscribe Star, and by the way, you can do that too, or even a one-time donation with the link that you can see down below, or even merch. Just so you know, if you do support the channel for as little as $1, you get access to special videos just for you. You get access to music that you can use in your videos or just listen to them. I make them as background tracks so that way you can use them in your own videos and not have to worry about copyrights. But on top of that, I just recently dumped around 211 rack audio profiles. So that means if you have some older hardware for guitar players there, some musicians, you can have access to all those absolutely free. Some of those you can get elsewhere, but most of those are taken ones that I do and I tweak and use for my own studio. So if you're a musician, you got that covered too. So once again, special videos, you got music, and other perks that you get as well over time. Thank you everybody for that. So thank these people, otherwise this channel wouldn't be possible. So now let's get into that bottom, the dumpster fire, shall we? And the number 3 of the bottom of the bin was Batgirls number 10, which received a 7 out of 10. Batgirls number 10, 7 out of 10. You know, how do I put this? I'm just not a fan of this art. I try to like it. It's a different type of style. It is not for me. I can't get into this art style. The story also moved pretty slow in this issue. but it did have its charm. We see Stephanie Brown moving on from Tim Drake Robin, which I think is sad because I think that's one of the best comic book couples in history that we've had in a long time, and DC has done everything they could to. You know, the Robin, Tim Drake, and Stephanie Brown relationship has been phenomenal in the early run. They were really built up over time to make them a great couple. So I'm not just saying that. I've read every Robin issue, and it just never really made sense. So once again, it's not a phobe or anything of that nature. It's just for love that character, or both those characters actually, and how well they work together. So anyway, this issue really wasn't anything special, but it wasn't terrible. So it just really wasn't good enough for me to say, hey, go out and get it. But it did get enough to get a 7 out of 10. Now, my next one, this series continues to disappoint me. And once again, that's probably because of my views on the character. And that was Venom number 10, which I gave it a 6.9 out of 10. Well, once again, the art continues to be okay. But that's the problem. It's consistently okay. There's just something about it that just doesn't grab me good enough. And I really don't like this story. I just don't like the story arc at all. I'm more of a traditional Venom guy. I like to see him more street level. I loved seeing it back when he first started, when he was just insane and crazy. I wasn't a big fan of him turning to be the lethal protector hero kind of thing. I think it watered down the character a bit. But even then, he had good moments, especially when he was street level. This whole take, and I know it's an alien thing, and I get it, but this whole take, I just can't get. I can't fathom and understand. I just don't like it. I don't go, wow, that's good. I'm enjoying this. It's too convoluted. It's going with time and with time loops and things. I'm never usually a big fan of time loops either. So this story fails for me. And so it received a 6.9 out of 10. I think you could so far skip this whole Venom run. And my number one, this one might not be a surprise, but I'm a Flash fan, and I've been reading Flash for a long time. I can't say I know everything about Flash, but as current run, I've read every issue, and I've read a lot of the past ones too. Not all, but a lot. Anyway, so I checked out Flash, Fastest Man Alive, number 1 of 3. It's a movie adaptation kind of thing. And I'm going to tell you right from the start, the cover I thought was awful. The cover sucks. I gave this book, by the way, a 6.8 out of 10. 6.8. The cover sucks. The art style, in my opinion, is not good at all. It's just, they're really phoning in this issue. Barry is written as a character very poorly. This is not a Flash book. This is a Batman help me book. I mean, come on, Flash is smart. They make it like Flash is an idiot. Batman makes the ring for Flash, makes a suit for Flash, teaches the Flash a bit about how to fight. Come on, this is ridiculous. I like Batman and all, but Batman, is not the end all. This is a Flash book, supposedly, not a Batman book teaching the Flash, but that's what we got. The story was really, if you consider anything, decent at best. He's fighting Girder. It's just really not a good book. It's a Batman book trying to help Barry become a better hero. It's just not good. This is definitely one to skip, and I'm glad it's only a 3-issue miniseries because honestly, 1 issue was more than what it deserved. All right, now that we've got those down, let's go for the ones in the middle, the ones that didn't quite fit in either of those categories. The first one is Batman and Robin number 1 of 5. I gave it a 7.03 out of 10. The art's okay, but I'm not a big fan of this story so far. I think it would have been better if they had a different reason for Batman and Robin to fight. I just don't think this was the right way to go. I think Wade dropped the ball on this storyline. Another one was Future State Gotham number 17. I gave it 7.02 out of 10. The story overall has been a pretty good one. I've been surprised for the 17-issue run. It's a decent art style for this type of story as well. And the second story in it had some solid art and a good story as well. So if you have been reading it, I recommend getting it. But if you haven't been reading this series, I wouldn't start reading it because of this issue. Another one was Amazing Spider-Man number 9. I gave it a 7.01 out of 10. Now this one disappointed me. The art was okay at best, and I really did not care for this issue much. I'm not a fan of this time jump story of we don't know what happened in the past, and everything is negative on Spider-Man kind of deal. I just don't like it. I don't like where it's going. At the end, he gets a little bit of a talk about responsibility from Mary Jane. This series has had some good issues, but sadly, This issue is not one of them. This is one I would probably just skip unless you are collecting the whole run. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for your time. These are my thoughts, not yours. Once again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing you and hearing what your thoughts are on what I should read, or your thoughts on why I'm wrong about something. That's okay too. Well, thank you for your time, and until next time, keep it frugal.